setting up I'm going to go fish down at the Texas Hole on the San Juan. And this time of year is really my favorite time of year. And the reason why is that the lake turned over and the river is a little off color. So that means you can up the size of your fly, even fish streamers with really good luck. Now I fish streamers most of the year to here as well, but it works really well. So I like a bunny leech, and I'll drop to some kind of red annelid, usually about size 20, 22 for the red annelid, and that's where I like to start fishing. Now of course I'll switch this around and change it up throughout the day, but I like starting that. So the other thing you want to do is you want to fish this really deep. So we're going to literally put on probably a BB size lead weight, and then I'm going to put an indicator. I'm actually going to nymph this. Sounds weird, I know. That's how I like setting it up. I'm going to go out there and see if I can catch me some fish. Surprisingly, Texas Hole was rather crowded for being this time of year. Usually there aren't many people fishing in the winter. But this time it was tough to find a spot. The only spot available was a really tough spot to get a good drift going. I have caught fish here before, but today didn't seem to be that day for me. However, as I was leaving the spot to go fish up through the braids, I saw one of my subscribers and customers of Floatin' Fish hook into a really nice fish. So I asked if he wouldn't mind being on camera, and he obliged. Hey, nice bow. So, I just got this new system, and it's a New Zealand indicator. And I'm going to fish this kind of deep, so I'm going to put this quite a bit up from there. And it's got this little thing that you basically loop over your line, and you pull these little, you can see it it's like a little needle. I don't know if you can see that, but pull that up over. There we go. And what that does is create kind of a loop in your line. Then I've got this yarn. This is wool. Okay, you pull out a little bit of the wool, and you can reuse this stuff. Now it's a little more complicated than using like a thingamabobber, but it's easier to cast, and it's a lot more sensitive. So then you just want to double that up, and you stick that through that loop, and then you pull this up tight. And then there's your indicator. Now you can cut that to whatever size you want. If you've got scissors, you can cut that short if you want a smaller indicator. But I'm going to go ahead and use that. I don't really need a super small. Or you can always just break it off. And that's about the size I'm going to use, just so I can see it. I really like this system. And it doesn't really put too much of a kink in your line. Thingamabobbers do, and this doesn't really. But that's a lot more sensitive, and you'll notice strikes a little better, especially with these trout here this time of year are biting really soft. Now with this indicator, you do have to put a little floating on it, so make sure you got floating with you. Squeeze out a little floating on it. Massage it through. And every once in a while you got to recoat this, but there we go. There's my indicator. I went right to one of my favorite spots in the braids. You have seen me catch quite a few good fish here. It's slow moving water and a short and deep run. There is always a good sized fish or two in this pool. You can see the importance of a sensitive indicator right there. It didn't dip under, but just barely moved. This was a nice fish, but I'm going to be honest, he gave up really quick. This has to be one of the quickest fights I've ever had. Seriously, only 15 seconds. But man, what a beautiful fish. The fish on the San Juan usually aren't this colorful, but I mean, look at the spots on him. Fumble. Man, I tried to hold him up for the camera for you guys, but at least he got away unhurt. So I moved to another spot and hooked into this fish that was really spunky. Check that jump out. It turns out that he was spunky because he was foul hooked, so I decided to release him without touching him. So I moved to even another spot in the braids, and this time I hooked into a really nice fish. Okay, well, he wasn't too large, but he was solid. As the day started winding down, I thought I would go check T-hole once again. I found a spot on the back end, but by now the wind was blowing really hard and the fishing was getting really tough. I tried higher up in the run and then lower in the run as well, but didn't seem to get anything. Then one of the guides that works with floating fish named Kelly saw me and came over to say hi. Turns out he was just fishing for fun for the day and asked if I wanted to climb on board and fish on his boat with him. Of course I said yes, and I ran to get my camera. So I fished with him for the remainder of the day. But we only had about an hour or so of sunlight left. Unfortunately, my camera died shortly after I climbed on board, so I wasn't able to video the fish I had caught. But it was really awesome being able to hang out with Kelly and catch up. If you ever want to get a good guide to float the river with, call up Floatin' Fish and book with Kelly. He knows the river well and has been fishing it for many years. Well, that was my trip to the San Juan in early January. Like I had said earlier in this video, this is one of my favorite times of year to fish. Usually I do a bit better, but I was really happy with the quality of the fish I caught. Well, thanks for watching. Check out the description section for more info about this trip. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.